Chief Kickabitch says, I think the reason why they lie about military divorce statistics is that the largest group of recruits are legacy enlistments. If fewer soldiers marry, there are fewer legacy enlistments. Not that it matters, since veterans are telling their family members to stay away from the military.
In droves.
Yep.
That is a trend now.
Oh, yeah, big time. We had a recruiter on the show talking to us about his numbers, and they are in the shitter.
Yeah.
All right, where is his? I know his email is "Hey, would you blow me?" So where are they
I
at?
don't see it.
I saw it earlier. I'm just trying to track it down now. Where are you? There it is. Good news. Yesterday, we were party to the most unusual hearing the family court judge had ever heard of, let alone presided over. He had presided over cases in which one parent sued to terminate his parental rights and had ordered termination when it was shown by clear and convincing evidence that it was in the best interest of the child. What he had never heard of is a case in which both parents sought to terminate those rights and another couple, old married hands, were anxious to adopt their child. Ordinarily, adoption is a simple matter that the courts do not need to be and prefer not to be involved in. Before he would consider the petitioner's pleas, he called Sir Keat and me to his chambers with his court reporter present for an interview, really an interrogation. After swearing us in, he asked what motivated a man on the verge of 65 to want to adopt a 6-year-old. I told him the story of my 58-year friendship with Charlie and how it came to be that he never knew that he had a grandson. The judge, a grandfather himself, was ready to flay Junior after that. He didn't think too much of Denise either when my wife and Charlie gave their testimony. He asked about our financial stability, so I took out my investment portfolio, my pension documents for a 40-year career, and a few other things, and all the information pertaining to Charlie's grandfather's bequest to me, now being used for Charlie. Each item on its own was sufficient to establish our financial fitness to adopt. Next, he asked Sir Keat if she was ready to support me in my commitment considering my age. She explained that Charlie was her friend too, although only for 30 years, and that in the 6 months his grandson was living with us, she had come to consider him to be her son. She answered all of his questions. What are Charlie's favorite foods, colors, books, activities? My wife launched into an account of all the things he has been doing, cow care, gardening, and other things to develop his mind and body. She also told him that we were paying for an expensive private school to get him out of the dangerous public school he had been in, had his teeth fixed, got him a private and exclusive pediatrician, took him for eye examinations, took him off public assistance, and more. Then she took out a small photo album from her purse to contrast photos of him when we first met him with current ones. The difference in clothing is striking. I had not noticed how much he has filled out. He's about 10 pounds heavier. Then, satisfied, the judge dismissed us to the courtroom and entered almost on our heels. Junior was in court only because I paid for his flight, hotel, and lost wages by dipping into the inheritance money I'd set aside for its entirety for Charlie III. He was dying to be let off the hook legally once and for all. He was called to the stand, sworn in, and asked why he wanted to terminate his parental rights. Junior was at his most obnoxious.
Oh, here we go.
First out of his mouth was the assertion that he never met the little bastard.
Ooh.
And that if he had had his way, the parasite would have been aborted.
Oh, my God. Oh.
Wow, what a piece of shit.
Oh.
The only reason he wasn't is that Denise wanted to get revenge on him for refusing to marry her by sticking him with child support. The sooner he can get rid of the leech, the better.
Oh, my God.
The judge was pissed.
Ooh.
Junior was dismissed from the stand and told to remain in court until the ruling and to keep his mouth shut while his son was present or spend 15 days in jail for contempt.
Okay.
Denise was next. Her testimony was that she was sick of having her life ruined by Junior's son and that she wished he was never born.
Oh, my God.
He was nothing but a burden, and she had been wishing to get rid of him for the last 2 years. She wants to marry a man who would leave her if he knew about Charlie. The judge said that it would be better if she had no more children and gave her the same warning he gave to Junior about her silence while her son was present.
Okay.
Then he said that he heard enough and was retiring to his chambers to review the evidence before making a ruling. I bet this won't take long.
Oh!
When the judge left, I whispered to Sir Keat that I thought they collaborated on their testimony regardless of the damage it would do to their reputations to have it in the public record. She whispered back that they never considered that when the three of them planned it out. I was speechless. I knew she was smarter than I am in such matters, but this was a level of deviousness I never suspected even after 31 years of marriage.
Damn.
What the judge really did when he returned to his chamber was have Charlie and his sitter, a woman who was at our home for the safety and food security check, brought in to give their evidence. Charlie's testimony about his mother pissed him off, and the investigator's report, which included interviews with Charlie's kindergarten teacher, teaching aides, neighbors, and others, made up his mind. 2 things he asked Charlie after telling him to describe his days with us were if he knew what adoption is and if he wanted Sir Keith and me to adopt him. They brought Charlie into the courtroom, and he climbed into Sir Keith's lap and glared at his mother. It was the first time Junior had ever seen his son, and there was no paternal warmth in his eyes. They were flat and dead. Charlie never even noticed him. The part of me that recognizes tragedy grieved for what Adana did to Junior. I suppose that lamenting any of it would be to regret the chain of events that brought Charlie into the world. Adana had to be the way she is in order for him to be here. The judge resumed his place at the bench and ripped into Denise and Junior with his command of the King's English. His eyes expressed concentrated anger and distilled contempt. He did tell them both that they were lucky that horsewhipping was no longer allowed in the great state of Texas before issuing his ruling.
Oh, yeah.
All of Denise's and Junior's parental rights were ordered terminated effective immediately. Furthermore, he issued a permanent injunction against both of them, forbidding them from contacting Charlie until his 18th birthday, and even then, only if he first contacts them. Then he summoned the 3 of us to his chambers, where he had us both sign the paperwork and informed Charlie that he now had a new mother and father.
All right.
Until I die, I will never forget how he jumped up and danced around while yelling, "Yay."
Good.
For the first time, the judge smiled. He told us that there would be 3 more unscheduled visits at random times over the course of the next year to inspect our home for safety and food security. Then he wished us Godspeed. On the way home, we told Charlie that we were going to have a party for him, so he should make a list of who he wants to invite. He told us that he doesn't want a party because he does not want attention for being adopted. Instead, we should use the money to get another cow because he was going to need more cream and milk for his ice cream and yogurt business.
Oh, yeah! Yeah! Oh, fuck yeah.
I said that the 4 gallons he gets every day from Madonna, good name for a cow, is enough for now. He looked a bit dejected, but after a few seconds smiled and said, "Oh, well, I tried." Then I hit him with the bad news, good news. He was going to take over all of Adana's care since he's a big boy, and if he could handle it and still wanted another cow, we would look into it. The Guernsey is very docile and likes him, unless she's just licking his face for the salt in his sweat. Either way, he should be able to handle her, including foot care. I reminded him that school starts on August 21st, so he may not have as much time as he thinks. I'll be surprised if he doesn't change his mind. We let him know that we understood his feelings and would respect his wishes regarding the party, and had a private welcome to the family party for him with cake and presents, including a new bee suit and a 10-gallon hat and new boots for protection from the sun and rattlesnakes.
Nice.
Then we took him to a closet to mark his height and write his weight along with the date on the inside door jamb. I found out today that Charlie has cousins, so I asked him about it and asked why he hadn't said anything about them. He was embarrassed as he explained why he can't stand either of the 2 in this story. Denise has 2 sisters and 2 brothers, and Charlie has 8 cousins. I don't think we want any more to do with this family. They're all sphincters. That's a good insult. You're such a fucking sphincter.
I love it.
It's time to breed our English Mastiffs now that they're old enough. Ralph and Norton may not be enough dog to go around. Here's how I found out about the extended family. Denise's sister-in-law Carol called this morning to ask about matters that are none of her business. Before answering, I required her to tell me where she got my number, but she refused to tell me. I already knew that Denise gave it to her, or thought I knew, but I was wrong. Upon her refusal, I said that since she wouldn't tell me, I'm ending the call, and hung up. I thought that would be the end of it. Nope. 10 minutes later, Carol's husband, Denise's brother Reginald, called. Who names their kid Reginald? He thought it would be a good idea to start off with disrespecting a man who is 30 years his senior by demanding an apology for hanging up on his wife. Rather than go off on him, I replied, "Well, Reggie, I ordinarily do not allow young men I have never met to address me by anything other than Mr. Kickabitch, but I'll play. I'm sorry that your wife is such an ill-mannered bitch. Now, is there anything else that I can do for you before I end this call? If so, I'm afraid I have to demand an apology from you both for your and your wife's atrocious behavior before allowing you to impose further on my good nature." He sputtered and said he would not apologize, so I hung up wondering if Charlie 1.0 was the only sane relative Charlie had. I mean,
Wow.
what the fuck?
Damn.
2 hours later, Carol called back with an apology. But Oh, where's the butts? The butts went away. Oh, you rat bastards. Hang on, let me fix it. I'm going to fix
Oh,
the
no.
butts.
There we go.
Called back with an apology, but still wouldn't tell me where she got my name and number, so I told her that since she decided to be uncooperative, I was not going to waste any more time on her. She forged ahead. I just want to ask you a few questions. Fuck this. No, Karen. We're not doing this.
Nice.
First, Reggie calls to apologize, and then my questions are answered. Then, if I'm properly propitiated, I've never even seen that
That's
word
a big
before.
word, man.
my
Just knocked the needle out of the groove at that fancy
I
three-syllable
know,
word
right?
there.
And the answers are any of your business, I will answer. Since I really don't want to deal with you, I'm going to hang up now and block your number. Goodbye. An hour later, Denise's brother called back with a cheery, "Good afternoon, sir. I called to clear up our earlier misunderstanding." The fuck? Then, sure thing, Reggie. I'll clear up your misunderstanding. I'm not some Johnny Lunchmeat who could be pushed around by a couple of patzos. Do you understand? He folded. "Yes, sir. My name is Reginald." I thought so. Reggie is a pretentious prick. "Glad we are finally on the same page, Regina." I pronounced it Regina. "Well, what else do you have to say?" The cuck pretended to have not heard me shit on his name and launched into his wife's spiel before I cut him off. "Whoa there, Hoss. Did Karen not explain what my preliminary requirements are in order for us to have this conversation?" "Fuck this noise." He corrected me. "My wife's name is Carol." I ignored that. After he apologized, he told me where his wife got my name and number. Turned out that Adana was trying to cause me trouble. That bitch must have stopped maturing in high school. She called Denise's parents to let them know that they have a grandson, which they already knew. She also told them a couple of things they did not know. That I had adopted him and was paying to send him to a top-flight private academy.
Nice.
That led to a phone call from Charlie's grandmother to Reggie and Karen to tell about their nephew's changed circumstances. What the fuck? So I prodded him a little. "My son's grandparents have never met me, and neither have you. So what makes this any of your business?" He finally got to it. He thought it unfair that his sister's son was living in luxury and getting a private, fancy education while his sons were in public school. I was momentarily unable to accept that anyone would have a sense of entitlement to ask what he was hinting at.
Yes.
In response, I decided to feign obtusity and not understand what he was trying to say. "Yeah, Reggie, ain't it a bitch? Life is unfair. What can I tell you? It's still none of your business."
Yes. And listen, this is a debt of honor.
It is.
You really can't assign money to this.
No.
Like an honorable man, if he owes a debt of honor, will go through fucking hell to make sure that tab is paid.
Damn right. And he's going the distance.
Yes, he is. I have nothing but respect for this guy.
Me too. He continues. He was going to say it. He was going to have to say it, and I wondered how long it would take. Before I finished that thought, he came back with, "I was hoping you could help me with that." What the fuck? "Oh, sure, I can help you. You and Karen should update your resumes and send them out to find better paying jobs. Easy peasy, ham and cheesy." His frustration burst to the surface, and he blurted out, "No, I want you to pay for both of them."
Oh, my God.
I was by then pissed off enough to rub it in by telling him how much Charlie's tuition is, but decided not to waste my time.
Yeah.
So I laughed and said, "No."
I knew this was a money thing.
Yep. And ended with, "If you'll excuse me, I'm busy." I thought that would end it. But no. He called
Nice
back.
bet.
And demanded that I put his sister on so she could talk some sense into me. I told him that she's not here, and he asked where she was and when she'd be back. I asked him what made him think that I knew where she was. He said, "She's your wife. You should know where she is." I laughed. "What makes you think I would marry the town pump? I'm not crazy." He thought I was Charlie's stepfather.
Oh, my God.
I was going to explain it, but like I said, it's none of his business, so instead I hung up, hopefully for the last time. Back to Charlie's cousins. They are 1 and 3 years older than him, and the only 2 times they visited, they pushed him around. He was too ashamed to say anything about them. I told him that that's rough and hard to deal with, especially for a young boy. It was 2 bigger kids against 1, and worse than that, they were family. I then told him about my cousin Richie, who boxed and liked to bully me. He died this year after being confined to a wheelchair for more than 15 years because he refused to control his diabetes. I also told him that I never told anyone but his grandfather about it because I was ashamed of my helplessness. Charlie 1.0 understood. I didn't tell him that his grandfather helped me get my revenge, but instead told him about karma and how it always takes care of payback. I said that he was going to get even by living a good life and that he already had a nice home, nicer clothes, a better school, and a healthier lifestyle with better friends, so they mean nothing.
Nice.
I also told him that his uncle, aunt, and cousins were never going to be allowed to visit us, and we are never going to visit them. If they show up uninvited, he can have the dogs chase them away.
Nice.
Now let's go make some vanilla ice cream to go with that peach pie Sir Keith's making for dessert. Charlie and I waited a little over 5 years to get even with Richie. It was a little footnote for the revenge here. Revenge was not only served cold, but it came so long after the last time I saw him that no one connected it with me. I knew Richie was driving without insurance, so if his car was destroyed, he was fucked. Charlie and I drove 60 miles to his home and removed all of his lug nuts at around 02:30.
Oh my God, that's vicious.
He had two bad habits that ruined his day. Speeding and not slowing down as he rounded the corner at the T intersection 100 yards from home. His car was destroyed, as was the parked car he hit when he turned left and his driver's side tires came flying off. He had to pay for that before he could replace his own car. He had to downgrade his wheels from a 64 GTO to a used Chevelle.
Oh, a GTO, that's a good car, man.
Today, I would wait longer before taking revenge, because since then, Pasquale taught us that he too takes revenge after just 10 years acts in haste.
Oh, damn.
I'm the same way.
I love this guy's stories. That's why I don't mind taking 10 minutes to read one of these.
All right, now this guy here. All right,
there's a little bit more if you want me to.
Oh yeah, finish it. Sorry.
Every year for 48 years, shortly before the anniversary of that glorious day, he'd get a lug nut wiped clean of prints and a typewritten letter saying "Happy Anniversary, you rat bastard" in the mail, and a small package with no prints, touched only with gloved hands, postmarked far away from wherever I was living at the time.
That's awesome.
He'd be due for another one next month if he was still alive. His brother, with whom I was always on good terms, told me and a couple of our other cousins that every mid-August he drove himself nuts trying to figure out what he did to piss someone off that much. After 20 years, he thought it would be the end of it. Dumbass forgot that you can find lug nuts in any auto parts store. I do have a conscience, and I've always regretted the destruction of a classic muscle car.
Yeah, that's the only part of the story I think is fucked up. That's a good car.
Oh, it is.
Now, the backstory, this guy is adopting the grandson of his best friend who's now passed away.
Yes.
And they were friends for decades. So this is like a debt of honor to his buddy.
Yes.
And I think this is just an awesome...
Yeah, and these emails, he's keeping them, and he's going to
Good.
curate them and try to publish a book, and I think it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and here's another thing he needs to do. Get the transcripts of exactly what those fuckers said. Because I can guarantee you, down the road, they're going to come sniffing around. You need to arm that kid with the truth. That they didn't give a shit about him, they badmouthed him in fucking court, and they threw him away.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporters Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.